starts.
Greetings folks, Iolair here with another World of Warships replay. Today we have a match for myself in the Tier 7 Pan-Asian destroyer, the Gadjah Mada. I am division with Lynn Wilkie, who is sailing in the Tier 7 U.S. Navy destroyer, the USS Mahan. We are in a domination match on Land of Fire. We are middle tier, and there is one Tier 6 aircraft carrier per team. My ship build is pretty typical for a capping destroyer. I like having radio location to keep track of the closest opponent, and I have survivability expert to help improve the endurance of my ship. The only skill that I don't have that I would like is superintendent to give me an extra charge on the consumables, as this helps with supporting late game activities. This match highlights a couple of things. First is the importance as a destroyer player of staying alive, as you can help control and contest areas, especially again late in a battle, and the importance of not going carrier hunting and losing focus on the objective. And in this game we will have some teammates that will go carrier hunting and will lose focus on the objective, and that will almost cost us this game. So for those of you who are waiting for the second installment of our interview with Lynn Wilkie, that is still coming. I had this particular replay in the Gadjah Mada that was kind of sitting my back burner for a while, even before the interview. So I was trying to get this out a little earlier. And secondly, with Lynn's interview, it's taking me a little while to do the editing, as I'm trying to compress about 40 minutes worth of very good dialogue into a 15 to 16 minute replay. So that's proving to be a little bit of a challenge and taking some time to get done, but that second half of the interview is coming. So let's go ahead and get to the replay on this match. Now, in this particular case, I make a mistake that I want other people to notice. Now, the way I approached this cap was kind of the way that I would approach the cap as a cruiser, like this Baltimore is doing with this Allied Baltimore that's just south of me. My instinct is to try to use terrain to mask my approach to objectives. And in a destroyer, this is actually normally a bad thing to do, because as a destroyer, a key role is spotting. Even if you do 0 damage in a game, your spotting alone may be enough to help win a game, because it provides very crucial information for the team that would otherwise be denied. So the better thing for me to have done is to have gone wider, a little more to the west side of the island, so that I could have better visibility on what was approaching the Bravo cap before even getting to the cap. So I want you to follow what I recommend, but not what I actually did. Now, we have captured Bravo. We do know there's an opposing Hatsuharu that is just north of the cap, or was last seen northeast of the cap. We do have this Allied Baltimore, and we do appreciate his close support here, but he is overextended and is now being focused by the bulk of the opposing ships that are both on the north as well as the west side of the map. I have dropped smoke here for him to get him into some concealment, hoping that he will be able to turn south and try to get out of harm's way. But frankly, he's kind of trapped, because there is also an opposing Shiratsuyu that was last spotted just west of the Bravo cap. And as soon as the Baltimore were to come out of the smoke, he would be immediately detected by the Shiratsuyu anyway. And so he's kind of trapped here. I do spot the opposing Shiratsuyu here. I'm going to put some gunfire on him here to try to sort of push him back. But given the way he's turned, we can reasonably anticipate that he may very well have sent torpedoes into the smoke screen that I just laid for the Baltimore. And our Baltimore is also firing, and he is likely within spotting distance from firing within smoke to the Shiratsuyu, and is therefore likely detected by the opposing team, and we are going to lose him here momentarily. We have lost 2 other ships, including our Kagero that went to the Alpha Cap, as well as a Graf Spee, and so we've lost the Alpha Cap. We do have an Allied North Carolina that is quite far south from Alpha that understandably should be retreating, because he would be focused by a fairly substantial force over by Alpha. I just don't know how close he really got to the Alpha Cap to try to support it. But even if he wasn't close enough, it does make sense that he peel off at this point and not be trying to contest or oppose the fairly large force at Alpha. We did lose the Allied Baltimore that was at Bravo, and so Lynn and I at this point are really trying to focus on doing two things. One is protecting Bravo, and again, this opposing Hatsuharu, who is also going to do a very good job in this match, staying alive and continuing to try to press the Bravo cap for basically the entirety of the game. We're trying to push him off. And the other objective that Lynn and I have, in addition to defending the Bravo cap, is I'm going to turn around and move more westward to both spot the opposing ships that are coming from Alpha, as well as to try to delay their advance with torpedo drops and so on. Now, I've taken a little bit of a risk here trying to put some fire on both the Hatsuharu that was trying to move into Bravo, as well as his low health Allied Dallas, but I am coming under too much fire from ships that are coming from Alpha, and so I've had to cut into some smoke, and now I'm going to get out and start spotting the west flank. We have taken out the opposing Mahan that was at Charlie, and now we have taken out the opposing Atlanta that was at Charlie. Frankly, in my opinion, it's taken us a little too long to get to Charlie. We have vastly overwhelming power at Charlie, and it was taking us too long to get into that cap to at least contest it, if not take it. But we have now, in fact, taken out basically the entirety of their east flank and are now going to take Charlie. You'll just notice that on the map, one of our allies has pinged in the Bravo 6 and 7 quadrants or regions of the map where the opposing carrier was last spotted, and as an indication to basically say, let's go after the carrier. And this is exactly where I have typed into chat, or will type into chat if I haven't already, to basically say, forget their carrier, stay focused on taking in holding objectives. And again, this is basically the primary theme of the video, is the importance of doing that. And here, again, I've sent torpedoes to provide some area denial. I'm trying to use these shots that I'm sending in on the Atago to try to bait him to turn the other direction. But unfortunately, the way that I executed that wasn't quite right. And so he turned the direction that I didn't want him to turn. And so that was an unsuccessful bait. The fortunate thing, however, is that I have now lured out the opposing Shiratsuyu, who is open-fired on me, and he's low enough health that I can win a gun battle with him. Although this is, again, fairly risky since I am reasonably isolated, and he does have a number of allies that are backing him up, but I am able to take down the Shiratsuyu, and I'm able to turn away here. I have a little bit of a scare. Was just able to dodge the torpedoes sent by the Shiratsuyu, which I knew were being sent. Again, I'm dropping smoke here. I don't carry priority target on this ship. I'm going to assume that if I'm detected that people are going to be firing on me, and so I wanted to cut into some concealment before before somebody really gets a good salvo on me. Now, the reason I'm firing here is not only to do damage on the Atago, but is to also try to bait him to sending torpedoes into my smoke, which I intend to exit. I want him to commit to the torpedoes, which take a long time to reload, so that he doesn't have them at his disposal. Now, for me, smoke as a destroyer is, to a large extent, a liability. I rarely try camping in smoke. To me, smoke is a mechanism to get into concealment and get out of danger, and then escape the smoke. And particularly at high tiers where there's a lot of radar, smoke basically invites the radar. And a lot of people do use it to try to bait radar, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but smoke has two other serious liabilities. First is it invites torpedo sends, which is what I was trying to do to get the Atago to commit to sending his torpedoes, or at least one set of his torpedoes, into my smoke. The other thing is smoke denies visibility for your team. And so by having dropped smoke, if I had stayed in it, I wouldn't be able to spot the west flank that's coming from Alpha. Now, as it is, we have a storm, and I'm not within 8 kilometers of the opposing ships. But under normal circumstances, dropping smoke and staying in the smoke denies your team important visibility. And this is also a very important reason why if you are a capping destroyer and you go into a cap, to not immediately smoke up. You should smoke up only if you are like detected and in immediate danger of being focused out. Use your smoke to get into concealment and then get out, and don't hang around in the smoke. So with that lecture over, I'm now moving back to Bravo, as the Bravo cap is again being contested by the opposing Hatsuharu. Lin is closing in on the Bravo cap from the east side, and we have an allied Gadjah that has moved into Bravo as well, and he is going to get focused out here, but he is going to do two very important things in addition to protecting the cap. He's going to end up taking out two ships, the Lightning, as well as you can see his torpedoes here going in on this full health opposing Gneisenau. He takes out the Gneisenau. So in that case, this is actually a pretty reasonable trade. Normally, again, you want your destroyers to stay alive, but he has taken out two critical ships on the opposing team, and that can help us a great deal here. Now, we are down by one ship compared to the opposing team, but because we've held two caps for as long as we have a minor point advantage. Again, here is the opposing Hatsuharu that is attempting to contest, or is contesting, Bravo again. Lin and I are going to try to focus him. The problem or risk that we have is that, again, we don't have visibility on the opposing ships that are coming up from the southwest side of Bravo just yet, and so they are a potential threat to shooting at us if we were detected. Now, fortunately, we were not. We can see the torpedoes here from Lin that have been sent into the smoke of the Hatsuharu. I'm going to send some area-denying torps out to the southwest in the hopes that I catch one of the opposing ships sort of by surprise with that as they're moving up. We do now see the opposing Roma that has just come into my visibility. He is going to miss those torpedoes, but the idea is to sort of delay their attempts to try to come back into this cap and take it. Now, I'm going to push in here to, again, try to find the Hatsuharu and try to take him out. You'll notice that there's been, again, a further ping on the map because we have two ships that are on the far northern side of the map that continue to try to chase down a carrier that we cannot see, and in a storm, instead of staying focused on the objective. Again, we are down by one ship. Our lead is very slim. We have no battleships remaining. And so our chances of being able to hold on to this game without staying focused on the objective is very hard. So I'm going to creep out here. I do detect the Hatsuharu, and I've just typed in the chat, why are we chasing the carrier? And fortunately, our carrier player will back me up and say yes, especially since it's a storm. But again, here I've taken a fairly serious risk trying to fire on the Hatsuharu. I'm having to cut smoke here to get into some concealment. This is one of the advantages of the Pan-Asian destroyers, is that their smoke comes up fairly quickly after it's come off cooldown, or after it goes on cooldown, it comes up fairly quickly. So I'm able to cut into smoke pretty quickly. I'm going to keep the smoke between me and the Hatsuharu so that he doesn't detect me again. And then I'm going to send torpedoes here into Bravo. It's a little too risky for me right now to fire into the ships that are in Bravo to try to do a reset. There is a Budioni there, which is a very good cruiser for taking out destroyers. It has a high rate of fire. It has very good shell ballistics, so it's very good at being able to hit destroyers, especially that I'm only within 7 kilometers of him. And then also we obviously have the Roma. We have lost now the Bravo cap. We did lose our allied shores, which was one of the two ships that was in the north chasing the destroyer, or the carrier. Fortunately, our Leander has kind of come to his senses and realized that he needs to get into a cap to help preserve our chances of winning, because we have now fallen behind. And again, here I'm taking a risk because we have fallen behind. We have lost one of our caps, and I do have this low health Budioni, so I'm going to fire on him first. I do get a torpedo on the opposing Roma. although obviously not enough to kill him. And fortunately, our allied Leander is able to take down that very persistent Hatsuharu that was trying to take the Bravo cap. And here I'm going to work on focusing down the Budyoni. Now, right now, I'm able to do this relatively safely because the Budyoni is unfortunately focused on Lin, who was trying to help defend their position as they come over to the Charlie cap. We do lose Lin in the process, but I am able to take down the Budyoni. We now have a 3-on-4 situation. We do have a very slight point advantage, and our allied Leander has now slipped into alpha. However, he's going to be persistently attacked by the opposing carrier and is going to be constantly reset. So our ability to take alpha at this point is going to be challenging for a while. The opposing Atago has moved into the Charlie cap, so now we are not gaining points from any of the caps, and we've now fallen behind. So my goal here is I just sent torpedoes back towards Charlie in the hopes that the Atago or one of these other ships that are either the Budyoni or, the Roma or the North Carolina might stumble into if they cut up sort of to the northeast through Charlie. And otherwise, I'm headed to Bravo to recap the Bravo cap. So this is coming down to be a very close game. Again, our Leander has come under some pretty consistent or constant fire from the opposing carrier, but he is going to get alpha here fairly shortly. Now, our Ryujo, which you can see in the Bravo 9 sector, has been very cognizant of the positioning of the opponents and has been working to stay out of their reach for the majority of the game, or frankly for all of the game, but he's also trying to be in a position that he can relatively efficiently get planes off and to the opponents as efficiently as possible. He obviously is trying to focus the ships that are in Charlie to reset them, which he's been able to do a couple of times. So hats off to the Ryujo player for doing that. And he will also start moving, in fact, he is already starting to move westward to remain in concealment and hopefully remain out of reach, of the opposing ships. We have taken Alpha. I've now moved in to take Bravo. We are behind by a little less than 30 points. Now, at this point, we are gaining, both teams are gaining points at the same rate. So we're going to stay behind until I have this cap. Once I have this cap, provided that everybody stays alive on our team, we will win. That's because once our team has 2 caps, we will be gaining points at a rate of 30 points per minute. And because the point gap is less than 30 points, that means that we will need a less than a minute in order to retake the lead. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm anticipating that the North Carolina and the Roma are going to move northward and then try to cut through that channel, or potentially cut through that little channel that's on the northwest side of Charlie, and I will send a set of torpedoes that way. I've now just captured Bravo, and again, we're behind by now less than 20 points. And I've acknowledged here that everybody's saying, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. This is going to be a close. I totally understand that. I want to make sure, though, I want to get some torpedoes off here so that I can deny that area and try to slow their advance towards the Bravo cap, and now I'm turning. You'll notice that the Leander player that was previously hunting carriers is now calling me a moron for not selling away sooner. He needs to understand that I know what my detection range is, and I understand that I need to stay alive. And the North Carolina isn't going to come through that quickly. I had originally thought I would cut to the west side of this South Island on Bravo, but realized that that would deny me visibility to the opponents that may be coming through the gap now that the storm has receded. And I wanted to make sure that our team knew where the opposing ships were. So I decided, with a little bit of risk, to cut in on the east side. I do get 1 torpedo on the North Carolina, but it's not enough to kill him. But at this point, we're down to less than 20 seconds. Our team has gotten a lead. The last risk here is that our allied Leander has been detected by planes from the opposing carrier, and the opposing North Carolina has now fired on the Leander. So with hopefully there's no devastating strike here, and there isn't, and we end up winning the game. So a very close match, and certainly quite exciting. A little bit of a nail biter for us right down to the end. I do want to thank both our ally Gadjah for his really kind of clutch double strike, during the middle of the match at Bravo. He comes in second in XP for our team. And I also want to thank our allied Carrier, who was very heads up and was very cognizant of the game situation and helped to support us there. So with that, I certainly hope you enjoy the replay and the commentary. Please do leave your comments below. And as always, we hope to see you out there, and we wish you happy sailing.